Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu apologized to Turkey.
But we will never apologize for defending ourselves.
Спасибо всем, кто сказал «да» великой России. Я вас спросил однажды, мы победим? Мы победили! Мы победили в открытой и честной борьбе. Но это были не только выборы президента России. Это был очень важный тест для всех нас, для всего нашего народа. Мы показали, что нам действительно никто ничего не может навязать. Никто и ничего. Мы показали, что наши люди действительно в состоянии легко отличить желание к новизне, к обновлению от политических провокаций, которые ставят перед собой только одну цель – развалить российскую государственность и узурпировать власть. Мы победили сегодня, и благодаря подавляющей поддержке подавляющего большинства наших избирателей одержали чистую победу. Мы будем работать честно и напряженно. Мы добьемся успехов. И мы призываем всех объединиться вокруг интересов нашего народа и нашей Родины. Я обещал вам, что мы победим. Мы победили! Слава России!
Russia, Syria, and Akhiru Zaman.
This Free Syria Army fighter says, "In the name of God the Merciful, we've managed to surround Manakh for 2 months, and today we downed a helicopter with a rocket. We'll continue to impose a no-fly zone over the airbase until we take control of it." The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, an NGO which aims to report casualties on both sides of the conflict, says at least 13 rebels and 5 regime fighters have died in escalating violence in the Aleppo area since Sunday.
There are many ways in which we can approach the subject of the Zionist attack on Syria. In my last lecture, I attempted to examine the validity of the view that a jihad is being waged in Syria. And I used the verses of the Quran to establish that you cannot wage a jihad with assistance from the enemies of Islam, with assistance from those from whom you are prohibited by the Quran from accepting assistance. I used Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse number 51, to point out that the Judeo-Christian alliance, which today is the Zionist Judeo-Christian alliance, which has NATO as its military arm, and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Libya and Turkey as able and willing and enthusiastic members of that supporting and that NATO alliance, clients of the Zionist Judeo-Christian alliance, are actively supporting and funding and training people who are going into Syria to wage that so-called jihad. You should not be angry with me. No, when I point out that this cannot be a valid jihad, when support is coming from these people, weapons are coming from these people, financing is coming from the US Congress, openly from France, from Britain, openly. They're doing it openly. And if you accept that support and that help and those weapons and so on, you cannot be waging a valid jihad. Don't be angry with me, this is facts. These are facts that I'm mentioning.
The United States has decided that given the stakes, the President will now extend food and medical supplies to the opposition, including to the Syrian opposition's Supreme Military Council. So there will be direct assistance to them, though non-lethal.
But then there are those who say we are not at all in any way connected with these Zionists, Saudi Zionists and Qatar Zionists and Libyan Zionists and Turkey's NATO ally, Turkey the NATO ally. We do not accept weapons from them. We do not accept money from them. We do not accept any help from them. Well, I want to suggest to you that a valid jihad cannot be waged alongside an invalid jihad being waged actually by the enemies of Islam. That's not possible. No thinking Muslim will attempt to wage a valid jihad alongside an invalid jihad. What will happen is that as soon as those who have the upper hand in power, and the Quran tells us it's Gog and Magog, they're the ones who control power in the world today. This is my eschatology. If you differ with me and you hold to the view that Gog and Magog have not been released and they're not the ones who control power in the world today, then could you kindly do something? And I'm speaking respectfully, not in any way derogatorily. Would you kindly at least show some integrity by going and searching for the barrier built by Zulkarnain, which is built of iron and blocks of iron coated with copper, and which should still be standing somewhere in the world today, high up in the sky, between mountains. If Gog and Magog have not been released, don't come with this frivolous nonsense. And I make no excuse for that language. That the barrier is somewhere underneath the earth. That's Disneyland eschatology. So a valid jihad cannot be waged alongside an invalid jihad. And when those who today are waging the so-called jihad in Syria with money from Saudi Arabia and Qatar and weapons and men from Libya and from Turkey and so on, when they gain the upper hand, and if, God forbid, they were to succeed and they were to bring down the regime of the Syrian regime, the first thing that they will do, my brothers, is to hunt you down. Those of you who are sincerely struggling to struggle in the way of Allah without in any way being associated with the enemies of Islam, you're going to be hunted down like rabbits, and they will ensure that you are either eliminated or driven out. So before that day should happen, you should understand from an eschatological viewpoint and a theological viewpoint that not only do you not wage a valid jihad alongside an invalid jihad, but secondly, there is no way that those who are the people of Gog and Magog will not overcome those who are opposed to them in the long run until Nabi Isa alayhi salam returns and they are destroyed. They will always have the upper hand because they are a people created by Allah with power so powerful that none but Allah can destroy them. This is Sahih Muslim. And so for your own sake, I urge you not to seek to wage any valid jihad alongside any invalid jihad anywhere on the face of the earth. And protect yourselves, for tomorrow they're going to come after you like rabbits.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has apologized to its Turkish counterpart for an attack on an aid flotilla that left several Turks dead. In fact, 9 Turks were killed. The Mavi Marmara aid ship, which was part of a flotilla heading towards the Gaza Strip, was raided by Israeli commandos in international waters in May of 2010. Let's get more on this now. This news that we just mentioned coming out of Israel, where the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called Turkey's Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan to apologize over the Mavi Marmara raid. Anita McNaught is with us on the phone. She's with us in vision, in fact, from Cairo. Anita, it's good to see you now. Of course, President Obama is said to have arranged for this phone call before leaving Israel. We know the Turkish Prime Minister had been waiting for an apology from Israel for quite some time. How far would this apology likely go in restoring relations between Turkey and Israel?
Well, as far as we can make out from the statements coming from the Turkish Prime Minister, the apology by the Israelis has been completely accepted, in part because the Israelis have given Turkey almost everything it wanted. The apology has been full. It appears to be sincere. It talks about operational errors, which is what Turkey always said had happened, and it offers compensation to the families. About the only Turkish condition that the Israelis don't seem to have met at this point is a lifting of the siege of Gaza, the sea siege of Gaza that the Mavi Marmara, as part of that flotilla, went to try and break. But this is an extraordinary event and a completely unexpected one. Although if you look at the kind of trip that President Obama has been making in the region, you would see why he wanted to break this deadlock. This has been an enormously damaging schism between these two countries. Both countries have paid a price for it. And to have this resolved in this way is unexpected, but won't be unwelcome on either side.
Israel wants to rule the world. And the recent Israeli apology to Turkey sends a message, which I mentioned in my last lecture, that they are now ready to provoke what will eventually become the Third World War, or what will eventually become what Nabi Muhammad ﷺ described as the Malhama. There will be Malahim ending with the Malhama al-Kubra. I said that it is likely to be a Turkish attack on Syria. NATO, therefore, attacking Syria because Turkey is a NATO member. And what they're doing is actually baiting Russia. There are other aspects to the analysis. They wanted to install a militantly Islamic regime in Syria, a Salafi regime in Syria that would spit blood and fire against Israel in such a way that Israel can use CNN and Al Jazeera to portray to the world that Israel is now in mortal danger, and therefore get casus bellum, a justification for waging the big wars against the Arabs that have been pre-planned. But you know about this analysis of mine. I made this analysis in Sydney, how long was it, 2000?
So they have finessed this methodology of how to bring the masses out onto the streets. And this is what is about to occur. As the masses go out onto the streets, the ones who are going to be targeted are the pro-American regimes in the Arab world. The objective? To get one or more of these regimes to fall through massive demonstrations, anti-American and anti-Israeli demonstrations.
So in addition to that, what they're doing is baiting Russia. And today, if I may be able to do so, and if my words can reach to Moscow, today we from the world of Islam, about whom the Prophet ﷺ has said to us that we will make an alliance with Rome, we send a message to Rome. They're probably going to bait Russia with an attempt to slaughter the Christians of Syria. In the same way that one sheikh, an elderly 84-year-old man, was shamefully assassinated with some 49 other people in a masjid while giving a khutbah. Shamefully unusual.